Hello and welcome back to No Bullshit. Today we're talking about my least favorite Mexican food place, Chipotle. Not only are they overpriced for their garbage tier quality food, but also, every time I get a burrito there it just falls apart and turns into a big gross mess. No thank you. I had pretty much written them off completely before, but after hearing today's story, I may never eat Chipotle again. You might remember that story from a while back about Starbucks, when they caved into SJWs and gave black people free coffee and stuff. Starbucks even shut down their stores for a day to conduct diversity training, which sounds like utter bullshit to me. And, well, now it looks like Chipotle is getting in on this leftist shit show. Their story is a little different though, but also strikingly similar. Both involved black customers coming into their stores and making fools of themselves too. And then they also immediately went on to social media to call the company racist, and to shill for sympathy and donations, of course. Let me explain. A few days ago, a group of black dudes went into a Chipotle restaurant, but when the manager asked them to pay first, the guys immediately pulled out their camera phones and started recording them, calling the manager and the workers there racist, even though the manager was a Hispanic, by the way. And before you overthink this, asking someone to pay for their food is pretty common actually. Most restaurants do this, and paying ahead really shouldn't be a problem if the customer plans on paying, right? Well, here's the catch. These black guys who are trying to play the victim now, they actually had been caught dining and dashing at this restaurant and other places numerous times. They even brag about stealing food on social media before, so this manager was actually being smart and doing her job and protecting her business. She didn't want to get ripped off again, so she asked them to pay up front. And again, paying up front shouldn't be a problem if you plan on paying anyway. But these guys really didn't. That's why they got mad and got their cameras out and cried racist like a bunch of liberal losers. This fiasco initially resulted in the Chipotle manager being fired abruptly without much investigation. Fortunately though, since then, she has been rehired, but this stain on her company's reputation won't go away that easily. And if I was her and I had any other options, I wouldn't even want to go back to working at Chipotle anyway. Not a company like that. If a company will fire you because some black dudes lied about you on social media, they're not really a company who backs its employees very well, are they? Chipotle should be ashamed of themselves. And even more so, those guys filming should be really embarrassed. They got a girl fired for calling them out for stealing. Then they falsely called her racist and made themselves look like dumb, loser, sketchy assholes. All over a burrito that's probably only $6 or $7 anyway. For more information on this story, let's turn to an article from the Washington Post called Chipotle Rehires Manager Who Asked African American Men to Prepay for Burritos. And right out the gate, in my opinion, the race of the men shouldn't be in the title or really matter here at all, unless you're trying to race bait, which I'm sure the Washington Post is, as are all the other news outlets which jumped on this story early on without all the details. But regardless, let's check the article out anyway. You gotta pay because you never have money when you come in here. A manager of a Chipotle in St. Paul, Minnesota told a group of young African American men in a video one of them posted on Twitter on Friday, and the exchange only got testier from there. "We got no money? That's racist," one man says, as the manager explains that they have to prepay for their burritos. "I might just run off with my food today, bro," another says. She's making crazy accusations. A white customer got his order and the group erupted. "Why did he not have to pay before?" a number of the men said. "Probably because the white guy hadn't stolen from the store before. I can't believe these hoodlums have the balls to play dumb here and to record and post this video based on that lie. They know they have stolen from this place before, but still, they made things worse by lying about it and then trying to make the manager feel bad for calling them out. She shouldn't feel bad though. That's her job. They are selling food for a profit. Chipotle is not a charity." And I also have to bring up the African American references here. Again, they are clearly putting that identification in this article's title and in the first lines in order to imply racism. The manager saying someone never has money doesn't sound bad on its own. But when you say the customers were black, boom, every brain-dead leftist in the country will think that's racism now. Well done. You all just got played. The thieves are clearly taking advantage of this angle too. Think about it. If these were white or even brown guys, they would have never gotten this far. Non-black thieves would have been arrested by now, but because these crooks are black and the whole country is drunk on being politically correct, well, they can basically get away with murder. Or in this case, get away with stealing, lying, defamation, and getting some random chick fired for no reason. Absolutely pathetic. Next, let's look at the video for a minute and see what's up with that.
Hold on, so what we gotta do? What we gotta do?
Hey, because you never have money when you come in.
We never have money.
We never
got money. We got no money. Bro, look, can we just get our food?
I might just run off with my food today, bro.
Can we just get our food, folks?
I just might run off with my food today, bro.
Bro, apparently we ain't got no money. We ain't got no money.
Great start, boys. This girl manager is being rather nice too, all things considered. She's just politely asking them for their money up front since, you know, they had stolen from there before. Perfectly reasonable. May even be too reasonable. The manager even had the right to kick them out of the place on the spot, or ban them from the store for life, or even call the cops. But our girl didn't do that. She kindly asked for their payment first, and when they refused, she smiled and walked away. Getting back to work, this girl did everything right here, and she's the only one who got punished. Don't forget. Now let's look at the guys on the other side of this. Sounds like it's 3 or 4 grown-ass men planning on stealing even more burritos as it appears. There's really no excuse for not paying for your food up front, right? And instead of just walking away after being called out, one of the guys has the bright idea to pull out a camera and start filming the workers. As if they're doing something wrong. You guys are in the wrong here, you dummy. Not only are you wannabe crooks, you're also filming vertically, which to some could even be considered worse. And I really hate this trend of SJWs and liberals and race baiters who think pulling out their camera phone in situations like this is a good idea. It's not. In fact, almost every time I see it happen, it's SJWs who think someone else is being racist or sexist or offensive, when really it's the person with the camera who is in the wrong. Do you guys remember that humongous story from 2016 where that crazy Indian chick pulled out a camera on some guy at a courthouse, asking him what his name was and all this shit? He replied with a joke answer, humongous, and it was simply hilarious. The memes haven't stopped since then. The girl lost her shit and has been a laughingstock online ever since. Then, also in 2016, there was that chick Annalise Nielsen, the hula girl, who also pulled out her camera phone on a supposed racist. This time it was her Lyft driver, who she thought had an offensive Hawaiian bobblehead in his car, calling him racist and all this crap. Hula girl turned out to be a total feminist too, who had a Valley Girl accent and sounded like a total idiot. These stories are terrible, but I guess there is a bright side to these too. These SJW paparazzi types are rather hilarious for us to ridicule and laugh at and have a good time making fun of them.
Bro, you know me, I pay here every freaking day.
Let's not even worry about that. Can we get our food?
I didn't even see her before.
Well, I've never seen. This is some crazy stuff.
Somebody get your man.
Well, I'm getting my food, bro.
What? I'm doing this big meal. She's the one that's making crazy accusations.
Next, let's talk about entitlement for a minute, because it's pouring out of this poorly shot video. These guys seem so arrogant and entitled. It actually hurts to watch. The cringe is strong in this one, and I'll tell you why. These adult men are acting like children, probably because they were never raised properly. Their parents were clearly shit, because why else would they turn into little assholes like this? And don't start calling me racist for saying something like this. This isn't an offensive black thing either. Don't get me wrong. I know plenty of black and brown people who are civilized and wouldn't act this way at all. There are lots of great black families in America that get married, raise their kids, go to church, and respect the community, all that stuff. But in this video, these kids behind the camera, they are clearly not related. They have no manners or respect, and it's frightening to watch. It's like watching 4 or 5 children walk into a 5-star restaurant where they proceed to undress themselves, scream and cry, and demand food be given to them. And I really don't know why these guys at Chipotle feel so entitled to this food anyway. This isn't a soup kitchen, fellas. You're in a Chipotle, probably at a mall or shopping center. If you don't have the money, that sucks, but it doesn't mean you can get free food just because you're black.
Bro, what is this?
She's the one that's making accusations. You're talking about.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Y'all basically stereotyping us.
Yeah.
We don't pay.
For what reason? For what reason? I come here every
No,
day.
it's cool. We can wait until they close.
I'm about to
We
be
gonna
off
be
on their
here.
ass. I'm about to be off on their ass. This shit wild, bro.
This shit wild.
Can I get a burrito, bro?
I don't like the stereotyping. I don't like it.
He doesn't like the stereotyping, he says. Well, that's a quick fix. Pull out a $5 or $10 bill and buy a burrito. It's really not that hard. And the fact that no one in this crew can do that or will do that says a lot. I wouldn't want to serve people like this either. And a manager of a store has every right to refuse service when they so choose. But back to the supposed stereotypes. I'd like to guess which one this guy is talking about. Perhaps it's the most direct and obvious. Black people don't have money, because that's what I would guess first here. But he could be thinking of the blacks are thieves stereotype. Either way though, what they're doing here is only making those stereotypes stronger. They don't have any money, and the manager has caught them stealing before. Been caught stealing once when I was 5. And now everyone watching this video with any brain cells can clearly see that they are trying to steal again. So those stereotypes, the ones they mentioned, those are there because of guys who act like this. The guy calling out the stereotypes, him and his crew are the very ones purporting them. Stunning amounts of hypocrisy here today, also with a huge dash of lack of self-awareness.
What's up? Can we get served?
Yo, put this on Twitter.
Hell Damn, bro. They're really hard.
Hey, shout out, man. Add me on the snap. 424 Mama. You feel me? I'm about to D off with this shit.
Speaking of lacking self-awareness, Jesus Christ, these kids actually thought this would make them look good. This one thought it was such a good look, he's promoting his social media links. What an idiot. This just made them all look awful. It made them look poor, criminal, petty, racist, and pathetic. Oh, and more importantly, they look like they're doing this to get attention now. They filmed it, acted a fool, and watched the tape, and then uploaded it to the internet. And it's still up on their accounts as of now too, so wow. Just some of the dumbest, most racist, attention-seeking people I've ever seen in my life. This is clearly a product of the digital age too, and while I hate to see that girl and the staff of Chipotle go through all of this, I also have to admit, again, it is pretty fun to watch. First we had Humongous getting joked on in public, and then there was the hilarious hula girl crying in her clueless accent. And well, now, I guess we could call these guys today the Chipotle chumps, because they just played themselves real hard here. They all should be embarrassed, and so too should anyone who knows or associates with them, especially their parents. The Chipotle chumps are a stunning display of failing families and communities of minorities now in America. They aren't raising their kids to be smart, strong, productive members of society. What we've seen here today is weak, entitled, criminal little babies. Now, one more thing. Last thing to mention is, again, this manager girl was rehired by Chipotle, so there was some justice here today, but I would still say the company shouldn't have done a knee-jerk firing in the first place. I don't think anyone was even calling for that to begin with. Should have just suspended her until the whole story came out at the worst, but well, at least she has work again. As for the Chipotle chumps, who knows? They're probably starting GoFundMes and making millions off their fake racism, which is really just them being poor, broke, and having no willpower to get a job of their own. What do you guys think? Should Chipotle have fired that manager, or was she in the right? And were those guys trying to dine and dash again, which is already something they confessed to doing and bragged about on Twitter? Comment your thoughts on everything below, and thanks for watching No Bullshit. We'll see y'all next time, and happy Thanksgiving!